Good morning. Mr. Rose, is that you?
Hello, how y'all doing?
Good. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Good. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your VOC number, please.
Jonathan Rose, 3338 98.
Say your number again, please. I'm sorry.
38 98.
Okay, that's what I got. Okay, good. So, Mr. Rose, you're here this morning. You are classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 50-year sentence. You were sentenced in June 2004 for armed robbery and assault by drive-by shooting, and 2 counts of armed robbery. You have a parole eligibility date, which was August 6, 2022. You don't earn good time, and you have a full term date, which is August 20. Is that information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Let me acknowledge that we have a representative from the district attorney's office and Jefferson Barrett here who's indicated he'd like to speak, and we'll call on the appropriate time to do so. We have another guest that's joined us by Zoom. I can't see the name on that. Janika Rose.
Yes.
She'll be speaking, is that correct? And we'll call on her at the appropriate time to do so. Your case this morning has been assigned to Mrs. Jackson. Would you answer her questions, Mr. Rose?
Yes, ma'am.
Morning, Mr. Rose. How are you doing today?
I'm good, ma'am. Good morning.
I see you wiping your brow. Does that mean you're kind of nervous?
A little bit. This is my first time, ma'am.
Okay, well, I'm just going to ask you some questions, okay? How old are you, Mr. Rose?
47. I'll be 48 on the 21st.
Yeah, I knew you were close to your birthday.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much time have you actually served in this case?
Right now, it'd be 20 and a half.
20, yeah, that's about what I have. And you are classified as a second offender, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And your prior conviction was a sex offense, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How long ago was that?
Well, I've been on 20. That's probably over 30 some years ago.
Or did you receive a prison sentence on that charge?
No, ma'am.
Got probation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you ever undergo any kind of sex offender treatment on that charge?
No, ma'am. I never had done time for that charge.
Okay. But I did see in your record that you were offered sex offender treatment and you refused it. Is that correct? That's what the record.
I can't remember that being offered that, ma'am, but I took some classes through here.
Listen to my question. Since you've been in jail this time, they offered you sex offender treatment, and they say you decided you didn't want to take sex offender treatment. I'm not talking about 30 years ago, whenever the other charge was. I'm talking about since you've been incarcerated this time, they offered you sex offender treatment, and you decided you didn't want to take it. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And was that after you got the write-up for the 21E? Got a write-up?
Yes, ma'am. That was after. That was after.
Okay. Because in November of 20, you got written up for a 21E. I don't necessarily want all the details of what happened in that 21E, but whatever they were caused the staff to believe that you needed to complete sex offender treatment. They offered it to you, and you decided that you either didn't need it or you didn't want it. That's correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Now let's go back to the the robbery and the assault by aggravated assault on a police officer. Just tell us very briefly what happened in this incident.
Okay, well, I can't remember the exact date right now. June.
Yeah, I don't need dates. Just tell me what you did and what happened.
All right, the morning of the robbery, me and a few friends was together and we was trying to get hold of some money and stuff. So we pulled up to the credit union. It was a credit union, and went in there. Got some money out of there. Grabbed with gunpoint, jumped in the car and left.
And who had the gun?
Guys who was with me,
Did you have a weapon?
no matter.
Okay, so you all robbed the tellers. I think there were 2 tellers and a certain amount was gotten from one teller and another amount from another, while you had 2 counts of armed robbery. It's 2 separate tellers robbed, is that correct?
No ma'am, I have 1 count on robbery. The other count is conspiracy to commit.
Okay, but it all grew out of the bank robbery, is that correct?
Ma'am?
It all grew out of the same robbery.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So when you all left the bank, who was driving?
I was.
Okay, and what happened?
But we got into a police chase, and the other guy shot out the window at the police and we got away.
And you sure it was the other guy?
Yes, ma'am, I was driving.
Okay. And you all wrecked the car?
No, I didn't wreck it. I drove it into a wooded area and we jumped out and ran on feet.
Okay. And then you were apprehended, how long after that?
Like 2 months later, August.
Okay. Why were you robbing a bank when you're not employed at that time?
No, ma'am, I wasn't employed. I was on drugs and stuff like that.
Why weren't you?
Foolish.
Say that again.
I wasn't employed and I was on drugs and I was being foolish.
Well, okay. What kind of drugs were you using?
Cocaine.
Anything else?
Yes. Crack, all come from cocaine.
Hmm? Well, when was the last time you had a job and what kind of job was it?
Well, on the streets, I
Before
was
you
doing,
came to prison on this charge?
ma'am,
Before you came to prison on this charge,
I
when was
was
the last time you had a job and what kind of job did you have?
construction work, working on houses, roof work, stuff like that.
Okay. Now, you've had 37 write-ups over the last 20 and a half years. Is that correct?
About that, yes, ma'am.
Sounds about right.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about the programs you've taken. Tell us all the programs that you have taken over the last 20 and a half years.
Well, I have so many, I can't remember all of them now, but the main ones are NAAA,
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
substance abuse. I can't
What
remember.
what kind of substance abuse program? I see living in balance. Is that what you're talking about?
That living in balance, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And that was in 2000.
I can't remember.
2011.
11? Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
living in balance?
Yes, ma'am.
2011. And then I see behavioral management in 2019. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But I don't see any other good time programs beside those two. So when was the last time, Mr. Rose, you took any program? What was the last program you took and when was that?
I took the parole board program. That was last year.
Okay, that was to prepare you for the hearing, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. And I
Okay.
took,
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to think of the other one I took. I can't call the name.
What was it about?
Speech, talking and stuff, right? The right manner, way of talking, a speech class. I can't exactly remember the exact name of it.
Do you have your GED or your high set?
No, ma'am, I'm in school, but it's kind of hard for me to get it because I can't remember everything all the time. I have a problem with remembering and learning a lot. I learn slow.
Okay. How far did you go in regular school when you were out? Where did you go?
I dropped out, especially 6th grade level.
Okay, all right. You tried to get your high set or your GED?
Yes, ma'am, I've been in school. I'm still in school. I've been in school for years now. It's just that I under that timer trying to test, I just can't get it.
And have you done literacy? The
Yeah,
literacy,
they don't give it to you here. Like without the timer and stuff like that, they don't get there.
can you read?
Yes, ma'am, I can read, I can write, I can do all of it. Just studying and trying to keep things in memory bank.
Do you have a job at the prison?
Yes, ma'am.
Your job?
I work in the kitchen, I clean, I cook, I'm doing the job that they need me to do.
Okay. So what's your plan, if, when you do get out, what's your plan? Excuse me, where would you live? And what kind of work would you do? How would you support yourself?
Okay, well, I have brothers, I have cousins, they have 18 wheelers. I'm gonna get my CDI license when I go home. Other than that,
Let me ask you this, with your learning disability, do you think you could actually pass the CDL test?
yes, ma'am. I know how to drive already. I just didn't ever get the test. Take the test.
I know you gotta pass. A lot of people know how to drive, but if you don't pass the test, you won't be able to get the CDL license. So what's your plan B? That doesn't.
Plan B will be I go take up a trade or something and work on that. I'm a hard worker. I'm about working. I understand I've done wrong. I'm just trying to put things in progress and move forward.
Or what can you tell us about Mr. Rhodes?
Madam?
Mr. Rose has had a few little run-ins. He's got he's taking some classes and then he gets in trouble again and back and forth with write-ups. I think he's trying, he's working hard. He hasn't had a write-up in a couple of years. He's working, he's studying, he's doing the right things. I think he needs a little more programming that we've indicated that has been offered to him. He has showed the interest in wanting to take them now. So we're gonna work with him and help him. And,
All right. All right, thank you, Warren. Not that that's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Wise.
One of the co-defendants, good morning. One of the co-defendants' last name is Rose. Is he related to you? That Jamil, what's his name? Jamil Rose?
Janiqua Rose?
No, it's Jerimie Rose. It was one of your co-defendants. Are y'all related? And if so, how?
Jamaica Rose.
Jamaica Rose.
We got
Who was
Rose.
in the car with you? Who was in the car with you when y'all did
No,
the
just
rob?
me and other guys. I don't have no co-defendant. I'm the only one was convicted on these charges.
Okay, there was nobody in the car with the last name Rose, like your last name?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you. We'd like to hear from, Ms. Jamaica Rose, ma'am. What would you like us to know?
Turning for my daughter. She must don't hear.
Good morning, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Janiqua Rose. And
What is doing?
Rose.
And fools don't into it. So
We have an audio problem. Don't let her know.
I think it's her.
Yeah, we'll try to get her back. Stand by. Uh-oh.
I'm messed up.
Trying to get her back. Just stand by.
This is interesting. I have the transcripts here of his bank robbery, and he did have, it says, 2 people in the car with him. So if that's correct, I guess it means he kept his mouth shut, which could have been why he got an even longer sentence. That's I don't know how often that happens. It always seems.
can y'all hear me? I'm so nervous. I think I just turned the thing off. I'm sorry, y'all. My name is
That's okay, go
Janiqua
ahead.
Rose. I'm 28 years old. I am Jonathan's only child. I feel like my dad is rehabilitated after these 20-some years and some change. It taught us both very valuable life lessons. I would like to say that my dad been in prison since I was like 7 years old, and my daddy has never missed a birthday. He has never missed a milestone. My daddy was even calling me from the prison phone when I had given birth to all 3 of my children. And I feel like if he can stick by me through all these years, and it's just been me and him, I know that he can come home and be an outstanding citizen. And my grandparents, they're kind of older, so they can't get on here, but they wanted me to speak on their behalf. They're getting older. They need their son. They waiting on him to come home. They need their son to help them and stuff. And my children, you know, it's starting to weigh on them because they know who their grandfather is, but they never seen him face to face yet. By us being in Alabama and, you know, him being in prison in Louisiana, I can't really make it down there, you know, for him to be able to meet his grandchildren, which it hurts me every day. But I thank God for these 20-some years because I've seen my dad become a man. I've seen him become a man. I've seen him do what he's supposed to do the right things. He, like he said, he went to school, and I feel like my daddy only started going to school just so I could get back in school. And I thank him for that because he even though he's been in jail, he pursued me and pushed me to be a better woman. And I thank him for that. And I would like to thank y'all for listening to me speak today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll hear from the DA's office now. Mr. Meyer.
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA Jefferson Parish, and we are opposed to Mr. Rose's request at this time. He's got an extensive record, includes weapons charges, drugs and alcohol, and really insufficient programming. We agree with the warden. The warden said he needs some more programming, and we believe that's accurate. give him the tools that he needs for when he does get out, that he'll be able to succeed and stay out. Concerned with the annual assessment. You know, it says he was offered sex offender treatment, which he refused. He had that prior sex offense. And then he had the disciplinary report in 2020 for sex offense, and also on intoxication in 2020. The annual assessment shows us he's enrolled in 12 steps, and he also needs anger management, which he hasn't taken. You know, I think a long term, particularly with you know the past drugs and alcohols in his record and the intoxication disciplinary report, I think a long term substance abuse treatment would be beneficial to him. And also, there's victim opposition. For those reasons, we are opposed.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Rose, is there something you'd like to say to us before we vote?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to really just show my gratitude. I'm sorry for my wrongdoings, the bad decisions and choices that I made in life that put me here in front of y'all. And I just would like to thank God for y'all being here today to listen to me, hear me out, and hopefully I could get a second chance at life to be with my daughter and my grandkids again. You know? And I'm sorry to the victims, the police officers, the people who was in the police. I'm sorry for the mental calls I put on them. I'm just sorry for everything. I would like to have a second chance at life. I wouldn't put this on nobody. I've done 20 years. I'm sorry for my actions, bro.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rose. Well said. I think we are prepared to vote. Mrs. Jackson will vote first.
Mr. Rose, I can see that you really do regret the choices that you've made. And I certainly commend you for being active and present in your daughter's life, even though you're incarcerated, and even though you don't live in the same state as she. But apparently you have been a good father to her, even from inside. So I want to commend you for that. But what concerns me is that it's one thing to get out, it's another thing to stay out. And unless you have the tools necessary to deal with life on the outside, which is no piece of cake, trust me, then you're not going to be successful. You know, the staff has suggested that there's some more programs that you need to take. And so I would recommend that you get with them and you get enrolled in those classes so that you can get those done. But today, I don't think you're ready. I think that day is going to come once you get these programs under your belt. So my vote today would deny you because of insufficient programs and victim opposition. But I'm going to encourage you, don't give up, keep working, get with staff, get the right programs, and apply again when you're eligible. Good luck to you.
Mr. Rocha.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Rose.
Good morning.
Mr. Rose, there are some things in your past that you can't do anything about. You have an extensive criminal history. You can't do anything about victim opposition. You can't do anything about opposition from law enforcement and the DA's office. But if you ever plan to get out before you're an old man, you have to do something about your disciplinary conduct. You have over 35 write-ups, disincarceration. 2 of those are very serious write-ups in 2020, and you went to extended lockdown or the working cell block twice in 2020. You need additional programs. Those programs were offered to you and you refused sex offender treatment. Those two things, your disciplinary conduct and programming, you can do something about. You need to start doing something and do it quick if you plan to get out before you know next. For all the reasons I just mentioned, I'm going to deny your request.
Thank you, Mr. Richard. Mrs. Wise.
Mr. Rose, we had a lady last week, they got her GED, a high set rather, after 23 years. She just didn't quit. She didn't give up. I just want to appreciate your daughter. She's doing really good. She did real good for you today, but you're not doing your part. You're not holding up your end of the bargain. My vote is denied. It's already stated on the record.
Mr. Freed.
I concur with my colleagues. I vote to deny.
Mr. Rose, you were nervous today. This was your first hearing. It seems to me that you just started preparing for this parole hearing date about a year ago. And you've done well in that last year, but you still have some more. My vote today also is to deny for the reasons that have already been stated. And I look forward to seeing you when you're eligible to reapply. Good luck to you, sir. Today you've been denied. Board, that concludes our business. I believe at your facility this morning. Thanks for accommodating us. It is 9:18.
He seems to be pretty upset, but I don't think he understands. Who wouldn't be upset, right? But does anyone know what a 21E write-up is? It was severe enough to get him locked up, and and it was for aggravated sexual something. So yeah, curious to know what that is. I do have the record of his crime, and then he did plead guilty for aggravated oral assault back in the 90s. But he only got 2 months probation for that. 1993, convicted of aggravated oral battery. But who knows how the laws work? But if it was just 2 years probation, does that make it any? What does that mean? But okay, so what he did is that he and a co-defendant, by the way, there were 3 people involved, but the reason that there were no co-defendants is because this man kept his mouth shut. He insisted that he didn't know who they were. And then one of them he just referred to as Mr. T. That was all he knew his name was. So I hope those guys have been taking care of him in commissary for him actually keeping his mouth shut. It's pretty often we don't see that. So they went into a bank, 2 of them, they both had guns. They went to the teller, they got, the bank teller says it was a little more, or just exceeded $12,000 that was given to them. They then got into their getaway car. There was a getaway driver. They got in. Immediately, there's a cop behind them they went on a chase. Then this car spun out to the opposite road, started going down the wrong side of traffic. They got to a bridge. The cop got behind them. Then the cop said he started getting shot at. And that's how they actually got away. They ditched the car and they got away. And about 2 or 3 months later, Jonathan actually came back to Louisiana because he was out of state. He came back, he took that chance, and they had somehow figured out that Jonathan was involved. And they sent a search warrant to where he was staying at his girlfriend's house. He jumped out the window, they apprehended him. He then spoke to a detective for about an hour and a half, and he said that he didn't shoot the gun, it was Mr. T. But he didn't know any of their names. And then I think eventually about an hour and a half in, he reserved his rights to stop talking, and that was part of his appeal. He claimed he was never read his Miranda rights for that like first hour and a half. And really, man, like, it goes without saying, if you're taken by the cops, you don't say a word. Guilty, innocent, 100% innocent, you don't say a word. And if he hadn't said a word, he might have gotten off, because what evidence did they have, really? He claimed that they had only gotten $3,000 from the bank, but the bank teller says it was a little more than $12,000. Yeah, and then so he got locked up for that. He took the blame all on himself. He had a few appeals. They didn't go through. I'll put the link in the description. But then, what did he do while he was in prison? Again, I just want to know what that can mean, what that write-up can mean, if any of you know. His daughter does seem to be doing great. It's really sad what he's doing to her in terms of being locked up, and maybe he only knew that he had a chance of getting out a year ago, so he started putting a show together, but he's going to have to do a lot more to get out sooner. With that, I'll let you go. Oh, please like and subscribe.